I want to watch the news.
Are you making headway at least?
This is the news.
Schmack-a-magab, it's time for the only news that matters. And Def Leppard is commonly associated with the new wave of British heavy metal, which sprung up in the early 80s. Yet frontman Joe Elliott has revealed that he doesn't like the metal label, calling it a silly, silly term. I have an issue with the term heavy metal, he says, because everybody outside of rock always thinks if you're in a heavy metal band, it's like bad news. What the hell is he talking about? Elliott went on to explain that the term heavy metal carried a certain lowbrow quality. What a douche. You get this impression that everybody's a moron, he says. The frontman also noted that the label... Wait a second, wait. Let me hold on a second. You are saying that, that you're a moron, that, if you're in heavy metal, you're a moron, but yet you wrote a song called Let's Get Rock. Let's get the rock out of here, or Make Love Like a Man. No, that's not moronic, is it? All right, let's continue. The frontman also noted that the label got overused over the years and has commonly been given to bands that don't fit the genre, including his own. He said, UFO Thin Lizzy were not heavy metal. Were Motorhead? They had a blues influence in them. Queen was never a heavy metal band, but they had a couple heavy metal songs, thanks to Brian May, and I think we were pretty much the same. From Elliott's viewpoint, Def Leppard has always been a heavy rock band. Bullshit. And with the ability to slide in harder and poppier directions when appropriate. If we're heavy metal, then so are the Rolling Stones, the frontman said, because it's two guitars, bass, drums, and singer. It's a silly, silly term. When you start pigeonholing bands, it gets on my tits, to be quite honest. Oh God, this guy. Let me tell you, man, they are not a heavy metal band, that's for sure, but they started off as one. I don't care what anybody says. On Through the Night is 100% new wave of British heavy metal. It is. I mean, it does have, you can hear some Queen and Sweet in some of it, but the Queen and Sweet that were heavy metal. He said, Brian May, because of Brian May, some of it was metal. And I guess he can say the same about us. Yeah, of course. But Queen never released a full-on heavy metal album. Def Leppard did. The first Def Leppard album is metal. Wasted? You're going to tell me Wasted's not a metal song? Answer to the Master? It Could Be You? All that's metal. When the Walls Come Tumbling Down. Overture. I could go on and on. Now, High and Dry, which is my favorite, that one's a little more hard rock. If you're going to call High and Dry metal, then you might as well call AC/DC metal, because that's the type of music High and Dry is. It's not like On Through the Night. It's more like a hard rock thing. Pyromania, kind of the same, but Pyromania had Die Hard to Hunter. Stage Fright. Those are some metallic tunes. No off of High and Dry I thought was pretty metallic. You can say Lady Strange, and even Mirror Mirror is like a mid-tempo metallic tune, another hit and run. But it's not as metal as Satellite off the first album. Yeah, after Hysteria, when they lost an arm, is when they lost all the metal. There's no sign of metal at all on Hysteria, and every album that followed it was all, well, in my opinion, it was all crap. The first three albums is all that matter. But Joe Elliott, I don't know, he's always, ever since Hysteria, he's been kind of like downplaying the metal, and and by Hysteria, they were like not playing no more Onto the Night songs on their set list. It was just they morphed into something else. That 9-armed Def Leppard is not my thing, though. It did very well for them. I think that's the biggest selling album they ever released was Hysteria. And isn't it funny? Hysteria, Back in Black, and Appetite for Destruction. 3 hard rock metal albums, whatever you want to call it. Highest selling metal albums, highest selling hard rock albums out there. And all of them did not sell well when it was first released. Hysteria was pretty much a bomb. Everybody was writing it off a bomb because that album was millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars were spent on it, and they had to sell something like, I think it was like 4 or 5 million copies to break even. And it didn't sell that well when it first came out. And I'm sure they were all pretty much freaking out like, oh my God. They released Women. Yeah, Women's okay. That's the only song I really like off it. Then they released Animal. It didn't do that well. They released, what was the next one? Hysteria. It was just floating. It wasn't really, I think it may have sold 1 million at that point. That's about it. But then when they released Pour Some Sugar on Me, that exploded. And every single they released after that, it became huge. But man, and the same thing with Appetite for Destruction. That album did not sell for like almost a year, till it exploded. And Back in Black, man, I remember vividly when Back in Black was first released. It wasn't a bomb or anything. It did well, like it was expected to. Like, it did as good as Highway to Hell. It wasn't a bomb or anything, but like fast forward almost a year after its release, when they released You Shook Me All Night Long, oh my God, it became huge. It became so big that I remember the Back in Black tour played the West Palm Beach Auditorium, which, is kind of like a smaller type arena. And, when it was new. And then, fast forward like a year later when it exploded, our local radio station, WSHE, did a petition to get AC/DC to come down and play, of course they were going to play the Sportatorium, but it never happened. It's like, hey man, you snooze, you lose. I remember when that show happened. West Palm Beach is way too far from me. I was way too young. I didn't have a car. I didn't know anybody that was going. So I ended up not going, but, I was hoping that petition would work. But, all these people that now want to see AC/DC, you should have went to West Palm Beach, man. A lot of those people could have, but they didn't, Joe Elliott just wants to get away from the tag metal, this and that. But you're wrong, man. You came out as a metal band. And there was a lot of songs you guys recorded that didn't end up on the first album that were pretty metal. Glad I'm Alive, Wild Child. There was a lot of songs. It was metal. They were a metal band. Why can't you just say, look, we were metal, on the first album. Then, the second album was more hard rock and Pyromania. But we started off pretty metal, and it was. Onto the Night is a damn fine new wave of British heavy metal album. It was the album I played the most in 1980. I couldn't get enough of that album. I couldn't get enough of Pete Willis and Steve Clark's guitar solos. It was just a ripping album. And to think they were all teenagers at the time is even more mind-blowing. To write a song like Overture, that's a masterpiece, man. For little kids to write something like that. That long-ass metallic killer song. When the walls come tumbling down, the lyrics to that song are pretty damn doomy with the metal sound. Joe Elliott, you came out metal and then you changed. Whatever, man. To me, it's all about 10-armed Def Leppard. It's all about Pete Willis. Pete Willis had a lot to do with Pyromania, even though he got kicked out of the band while recording it. But everything that Pete Willis did with Def Leppard, to me, was top notch. After he left, he took the balls and he took Rick Allen's arm with him. Because after that, I just don't care. I really don't care about, But I've heard all the Def Leppards, thanks to my awesome listeners who donated for me to do track by tracks with these horrible albums like X and Sparkle Lounge and just all this crapola crap, that Def Leppard released afterwards that I just listened to, and Diamond Star Halo and stuff like that. That's not my Def Leppard, man. That sounds like a band losing an arm. Anyway, thank you so much for watching The Only News That Matters, and leave me in comments below what you feel about this whole mess. Was Def Leppard ever metal? Do you think On Through the Night was not a metal album? Well, that's your opinion, and I don't agree with it. But, as I said, that's your opinion, and good for you. And also, thank you so much, man. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and ring that little notification bell. And please subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and ring that little notification bell. Yeah, I said that twice. And like the video, because it's good for the YouTube algorithms. So stay frosty, listen to Black Sabbath, and smack 'em a gob.
Farewell and adieu to you fair Spanish ladies. Farewell and adieu, you ladies of Spain. For we've received orders for to sail back to Boston. And so never more shall we see you again.